Suddenly, it feels like it's 1989, and you got to wait around until it's nighttime to hear what the president said earlier today. The president is off Twitter, as you know, and now cable networks are not carrying routine presidential events that they normally would carry. Everybody is out to cancel the president of the United States. We are not. We carried his events today live. The president went to Alamo, Texas to talk about border security. Along the way, he had something to say about the suddenly controversial speech from last week.
Well, if you read my speech, and many people have done it, and I've seen it both in the papers, and in the media, on television, it's been analyzed, and people thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
Could you hear that? Air Force One's auxiliary power unit is running, but he says his speech last week was totally appropriate, which it was. Any fair reading of that speech would tell you, yes, totally appropriate, when he talked about peacefully marching to the Capitol. All right, but he did go to Alamo, Texas, and he spoke more broadly about the events, the tragic events of last week.
And now I'd like to briefly address the events of last week. Millions of our citizens watched on Wednesday as a mob stormed the Capitol and trashed the halls of government. As I have consistently said throughout my administration, we believe in respecting America's history and traditions, not tearing them down.
I think that's a pretty good point, Mr. President. Heads up to Joe Biden, because you got Kamala Harris waiting in the wings. She's younger, sharper, and plenty ambitious. And the far left had a lot to do with getting you to where you are, and I think they'd prefer to see Kamala in office someday. Maybe someday not too far in the future. We'll see. In the meantime, what's happening in America feels dangerous. This move to cancel not only the president, but those who support him, those who voted for him. There's complete unanimity that those who carried out the violence on Wednesday need to be prosecuted, arrested, prosecuted, and punished. But for folks who are just raising questions about electoral irregularities, should we be canceling them? Should you be canceling me? I don't think so. It's all starting to feel like McCarthyism. Joe McCarthyism? Joe McCarthy, Biden McCarthyism. Joe McCarthy was a Wisconsin senator like 60, 70 years ago, and he found a few communists, but then he started seeing communists in his soup. And it got really, really carried away and really, really sad. Right now, we're seeing a point where perhaps the far left will chase after Trump supporters, making it a huge liability professionally, socially, if you are in any way associated with Donald Trump. That is wrong, that is un-American, and we're not going to stand for it. You know, they are breaking out some interesting figures in all of this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, former actor, Republican governor of California, and I think it's safe to say a well-known adversary of Donald Trump's, put out a bizarre, rather long video where he made all kinds of creepy associations with terrible things that happened in World War II.
I was born in 1947, 2 years after the Second World War. Growing up, I was surrounded by broken men drinking away their guilt over their participation in the most evil regime in history.
You see where he's going with this? You see where he's going with this? It's pretty sick, in my opinion, and it gets worse.
We need reforms, of course, so that this never ever happens again. We need to hold accountable the people that brought us to this unforgivable point.
This is the part that really is bad. Talking about those who supported Donald Trump. We all agree that carrying out the violence on Capitol Hill was wrong. But now they're going after Republicans everywhere for their associations with Donald Trump. More from the Terminator.
We stand with you today, tomorrow, and forever in defense of our democracy from those who would threaten it.
Okay, that's just weird. I stand with Joe Biden forever. At most, it's going to be, well, theoretically 8 years, and Joe Biden would be like 90 or something like that, right? It's not going to be that long, Arnold, not forever. Keep going.
President Trump is a failed leader. He will go down in history as the worst president ever. The good thing is that he soon will be as irrelevant as an old tweet.
This is where the left, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm going to put him in that category, and his friends at the Lincoln Project are getting carried away. Worst president ever? Have a little respect. If you don't have respect for him, how about the 75 million of us who voted for him? Keep that in mind, please. It would do your side a lot of good. It would do the country a lot of good. Because, once again, we all agree that what happened on Capitol Hill was awful, should never, ever have happened. And right here, we called it out live as it was happening. It was terrible, terrible stuff. And we did see a loss of life. Officer Sidney. Terrible. Very, very sad. And we need a major investigation into what went wrong. Of course we do. What was up with security, by the way, and how some people, we saw it, they were being waved inside. But the idea that if you raised any questions about the legality of certain aspects of the election in 2020, that somehow you're responsible or you had a hand in this, that is offensive. Raising these types of questions doesn't make you a liar. It doesn't make you an insurrectionist. It makes you a citizen, a concerned citizen. What about what happened over the summer? How about the contrast between what people did who questioned this election before January 6th and what happened all summer long? Let's start in Minneapolis. After the horrible death of George Floyd, they took over a police precinct, destroyed it, totally destroyed it. And after that, for months, people were confronting police officers in the most disgusting, grotesque ways. You saw it, getting right up into their faces and yelling at them. How about Molotov cocktails being thrown into police cars? And amid all this mess, politicians were falling all over themselves to virtue signal and let everybody know that they were on the right side of history. Even Mitt Romney, there he is, marching. So what did Joe Biden say, by the way, after that police station was torched? He made a special statement. You know, he didn't get out there very much, from the basement, where he decried bad cops and systemic racism, had very little support for law enforcement who were under unbelievable pressure at that moment. In fact, just the night before, they had to evacuate that police station. Do you remember seeing those cars leave? Lights and sirens, they evacuated and gave up the police station to the mob. That was heartbreaking. Joe Biden, what did he do? Again, made a statement. Very little sympathy for law enforcement. What did corporate America do, by the way? They took all this nonsense and they started making it into a commercial, trying to see if they could somehow capitalize on this, buy off the mob, if you will. I don't know what they were thinking, but boy, they threw all kinds of money at this movement, didn't they? Didn't they? And by the way, if you are a Black Lives Matter spokesman, you could say stuff like this and not get confronted, even on Fox News.
If this country doesn't give us what we want, then we will burn down this system and replace it. And no challenge. It was like, okay, yes, thank you very much, sir. Come back soon. Interesting conversation. Everybody just kind of went along with it. I didn't, we didn't, and we shouldn't. We hate police brutality, but we also hate it when cops are unfairly attacked. This week, we'll be focusing a bit on Donald Trump's legacy, his amazing contributions to this country and to this world. Keep in mind, he's one of the few presidents who actually delivered on what he said he would do. On June 16th, 2015, when he declared, he said ISIS would be gone. And guess what? ISIS is gone. ISIS was born under President Obama, and it was killed under President Trump. And it wasn't just something that came and went. No. By altering the rules of engagement, by giving the military the resources they need, by standing by as warnings, he brought ISIS down. Now, a lot of people are running away from Donald Trump right now, Republicans, probably even some of his friends, because they're scared of the mob. I will not be one of those people.
I will not be one of those people. Donald Trump isn't perfect, but wow, he impressed the hell out of me during his presidency. Yeah, I'm sure there are things that he wished he could have changed, done differently. We all do. I continue to stand with him, just as I did the day he announced for president back in June of 2015. I was actually there in the room, and I'm not at all ashamed.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them, tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.